Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to Better Life discussion. I am Marcia Trajano, and with me to continue this second episode on the same topic is Anne Sinclair. Hi, Anne. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, Marcia, for inviting me. I feel honored, and it's a privilege to be here in such a wonderful series that you are preparing.
Thank you. And Anne returns to our program and second episode on a very specific topic, right, Anne? Attachment, love. And today we're going to really focus on the second part of this equation, which is the fear of separation. And just to give a sense, last week we explored this set of what I described as deeply human experience, attachment, love, and separation. And today we're back to continue the conversation and how they really shape the way we relate to each other and to ourselves. So, Anne, I propose here that we focus our conversation today in why is separation, whatever shape or form it will be, why is separation so painful? And I keep thinking, if this is something that is inevitable, if this is something that we all, universally speaking, will experience, we should then conclude that it is a natural part of who we are, right? But why do we fear and why is it so hard? So, Anne, please take it away. Let's talk about separation as the third part of our conversation on attachment and love.
Thank you. I just wanted to start by saying that although we are taking it in a light mode, uh, we're totally aware that this can cause a lot of difficulty and pain to a lot of people, including us
Yes.
at times.
Yeah.
And what we're proposing here is opportunity for reflection. So if you are in your deepest pain, you might not be wanting to be reflecting. You might just be feeling your pain, and that's okay. It's that when you come out of the pain and you want to make sense of things, why is this happening? How I can take it forward? How can it be different? Or why is life such? Then you can explore different ideas, different ways of thinking. And I'll start by saying, referring to an author called Lisa Barrett, who's a psychologist, and who talks about, where is it? Oh, sorry, it would just close down here. It's you are not at the mercy of your emotions. Mm, are we?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's
I
the
don't
brain.
know.
Well, so her theory is that the brain creates your emotions. Okay. So this is obviously coming from quite a materialistic point
Yeah.
of view. We are obviously having a spiritualistic point of view that we are eternal spirits, but we are incarnate. And our body is a whole universe that is affecting us as a spirit. So this action and reaction between us, the energy spirit, and our physical body. And our physical body is full of wonders. And as we study it, even like anybody who studies medicine, uh, we know very little about it. It's somebody was saying the other day, well, actually, our body is mostly water with a bit of sand, which is the bones, and a load of bacteria and our energy. But it has these fabulous mechanisms that function. So we go discovering slowly but slowly. So her proposal, and I thought it was quite interesting, that's why I'm bringing it here as well, because
Yeah.
what she suggests is that when we feel an emotion,
Hmm.
for example, I go into a party and I get butterflies in my stomach, my breathing gets altered, I might sweat a little bit, and I get a sense of anticipation. I
Hmm.
might interpret this as excitement. I'm going to
Yeah.
see the person I like. I'm going to see my friends. This party is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. And so I have all this anticipation and I'm feeling it like that in the body but also somebody else could have the same physiological effects of the digestive system, of the breathing, of the heart rate, and interpret it as fear. I'm afraid I'm going to bump into my ex. I'm afraid this is not going to go well. I'm afraid I'm not dressed appropriately. I'm nervous that I'm in the wrong party. So the physiological sensations could actually be the same. And those are provoked by our hormones, which are causing us to have these sensations. But what she's suggesting is that our interpretation of what these feelings mean can be different for different people. I found this quite fascinating, actually, because this is really helpful. And she's saying not only, so she remits to why we would think that having butterflies in your tummy, having this quick breathing and a little bit sweating, why it might be a sign of something good coming to you, or why it might be a sign of something bad coming your way.
Ingest, right?
Yeah,
Some people are adrenaline, which is right, the charge of hormones in your system due to fear. Some people are junkies, and they keep
exactly.
going to, I don't know, uh, the roller coaster and
Yeah,
this and that.
jumping off the
Where
cliff.
right?
Yeah,
In some people like me, I no, 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 do not even take me to a movie showing people climbing and throwing themselves dead. I sweat in my pants. Those physiological response to the fear that is triggered by heights, etc., in me are very real, right?
yeah,
But it's that interpretation, as Lisa Barrett said.
yeah. So that's why I think it's quite interesting, because he says your interpretation might depend on your life experience, what's happened to you,
Mhm.
make you connect those physiological feelings with that emotion, that this is
Mhm.
exciting or this is terrifying.
Yeah,
Or it also might be, when you think about it, even as a spirit, we bring memories from past lives and so on.
yeah,
So it's not just what happened in this life. Sometimes we already have an accumulated, and that might affect. So when she
yeah,
says when we have those feelings, how do we interpret them? Also, is how does a culture in which we are inserted interpret them, and how are we supposed to behave?
yeah, yeah.
It's very cultural as well. How
And
are we
in
supposed
subculture, right? In subculture, because if you think about it, if I come from same country, same age, um, and we're not, but not we're almost the same age, but we're
to?
not in the same country, right? By any
Yeah.
means. But there isn't the subculture. If we were, we can even be neighbors. But I come from a, let's just pretend, not the case here, but a very controlling, repressing, domineering mother and father for whatever reason. And you, Anne, come from a very liberal, very lenient, very loving, very flexible, adaptable, full of experience and experimentation in traveling, meeting new people, new cultures. And so we too experience the same event very differently, right?
Exactly. And that's important to know, because
Mhm.
then when like Lisa Bartlett, she's referring to that the brain interprets it,
Yeah.
and that means that you can actually change how you interpret a physiological experience. So
Mhm.
you will not potentially change that you have butterflies in your tummy, or your heartbeat's
Yeah.
going fast, or you've got adrenaline rushing around, but you can potentially change the meaning of that for you. But you've
Mhm.
already, like at the point when you're thinking about this, you're probably already hardwired in that way. And like any change, it requires repetition, and like to change a habit, you at first you have to repeat it until it becomes the new sort of automatic method of reacting. I
Mhm.
find this is really interesting, because we actually use this in childbirth as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if we use, let's say, words, so words are really important. So words are linked to culture as well.
Yeah.
If you use, let's say, the word pain, you're expecting something's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Now you could change the word pain and say when you go into labor, you're going to have strong sensations. True, you're going to have very strong sensations. But does that mean pain?
Mhm.
And why? So then when you make that agreement that childbirth is painful, inverted
Yeah.
commas, then in your culture, if you
Mm.
decide that pain birth is not painful, that it's life-bringing sensations, which are like, whoa, what the hell? But here, here's this
Mhm.
baby coming,
Yeah.
but you're not interpreting it as pain. You detach from your group of people who have been talking that this is painful. So sometimes if I say you potentially could have childbirth, which you might not interpret as pain, and then the people who felt a lot of pain will not be happy with you
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
you're doing something different to what they, and you're not validating their pain, because when
Yeah.
you repeat that pain, you're validating all the pain they've had. And this is what we do: we feel pain, so then you're
Yeah.
part of the group. We all feel pain, because if you decide you're not well, who do you think you are? Why are you not feeling pain? You don't belong
Herd
with us.
mentality in the pain specter, right? Can I bring you something that is very interesting? You're speaking about words and all of it. Um, my mother, we are six children. She actually had nine pregnancies. Unfortunately, three did not survive. And but she always said she never felt labor pains. Six kids,
Mm.
nine pregnancies, and never felt pain. So here I go, dumb, very young, having a child in another country, no, right? And the first thing, and I had to sign, do not give me anything for pain. I wrote it down, right? Do not give me. And I had to, and the doctor said, you sure? Yes, I don't want it because I'm not going to feel pain. And of course, 2 hours into labor, I'm screaming so loud,
And
and
have an
people knew
epidural.
it. People knew because I was screaming into different languages, English and Portuguese. The entire maternity hall could hear me screaming. And I'm like, do something. And I had to stop, literally stop, write again that I do want something and still myself so I could have an epidural and then have, whatever, whatever. But it's like, oh my gosh, how naive was us. But I went into that, I was very young, really naively thinking there is nothing. It's just part of the process, right? But
Mm.
anyways, back to
Yeah.
you on pain.
Yes. So yeah. So going back that was just giving an example
Yes.
of how the sensations that you're having and
Yeah.
how you're interpreting them and naming them,
Yeah.
and culturally how we're supposed to react to that.
Yeah.
So culturally, I'm super interested always in like because here in differences of cultures.
Yeah.
Here, in the United Kingdom, there are a lot of different people from different parts of the world who have decided to come and live here. And obviously, I worked in the national health, so you get to know the customs of lots of different cultures, and I find it absolutely fascinating.
Uh-huh.
And we used to have lots of lessons on this, of being culturally aware, that because even like body language, or for example, a classic example that always has problems with the police. In some cultures, if you are lying, you look down and then
Mm.
you say, look at me in the face and say it to my face. But in
Yeah.
some cultures, that looking down is a sign of respect. So if
Yes.
you have a policeman in front of you, you can't look them in the face because it would be disrespectful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then the policeman is interpreting this as you're lying. That's why you can't look me in the face. So
Yeah.
that clash of cultures, not understanding each other's one, and they're very ingrained. So if you've been brought up all your life that, if you're respectful, you look down,
Yeah.
you can't look in the face.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very difficult to change that behavior. Of course you can, but it's ingrained. You have to make a big effort to change that. So it's the same in terms of when you're thinking and working towards this question of separation,
Yeah.
loss, and what do we feel when we lose somebody? Let's say I know that the grief is the topic that's running through this thread.
Yes. Yes.
So the actual word lose, if I say the word lose, what do you immediately think? Like a despair. Oh no,
Yeah.
it's lost. I don't have it anymore. Gone
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
So that's why words are important. And I think in spiritualism, we try to change that and say, and not only us, lots of cultures, when a person passes over or goes to the spiritual world or releases their body, we
Yeah.
talk about them moving on, passing on, detaching from their body, trying not to use words like loss, pain, because these things will remit to us a sense of sadness and internalize that difficulty in deal with it. But the reality is that when somebody we love,
Mm-hmm.
parent, a child, partner, transitions to the other side, and as much as we are 100% convinced that life goes on beyond the
Yeah.
veil, we do feel a lot of physical sensations to
Yes.
do with the separation. So it's really important not to disconnect from that, but to think, oh my gosh, what am I feeling? My stomach's upset. I've lost, I don't feel hungry anymore. I don't feel like eating. I feel like I have a pain in my body. My back hurts. I don't know. I can't sleep. You can have all kinds of sensations because it's a strong emotional event, just like giving birth is a strong emotional event.
Yeah.
But what interpretation are we giving to all these physical sensations we are having? Then we can try and accommodate the narrative, say, yeah, I don't really feel like eating today. I'm really sad
Yeah.
because my mother's gone and I won't be able to hug her anymore. I know she lives. I know she carries on in the spiritual world, but I've lost the physical contact with her. Well, maybe I've already lost it long ago when I moved away, when I moved countries, and now I need to see her
Yeah.
once a year. But
Yes.
at least once a year. Now that once a year won't even happen.
Yeah.
So that sense, okay. But I think that it's like balancing it out. We do feel sensations and we shouldn't ignore them or pretend they're not there, like your pain of childbirth. You can't
Yes.
ignore it. You have to, and just learn from it. Say, okay, look, I'm feeling like this. I don't feel hungry. I know I need to eat. I won't eat today. I'll just have some tea. Tomorrow's another day. I
Mm-hmm.
will feel better. I will have something tomorrow. And that's okay. And not try to conform. And this is one of the, I am reminded of a joke that our dear friend Divaldo once said in the talk,
Mm-hmm.
which was trying to illustrate something about this topic of separation at death.
Yeah. And it's
Of
funny because Divaldo was so Divaldo Pereira Franco, one of amazing, right, Brazilian mediums, and who psychographed Joanna de Angelis' work, among others. But he had this sense of going as deep as you can get into a topic, right? And but
Mm,
it would percolate with jokes in a very
yeah,
humorous way. So it's very interesting because this is really a difficult topic, including for me. But
yeah.
we see that lightheartedness that you talked about it earlier.
Sorry,
That's
you can
okay.
cut that out. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Let's keep going. The joke that Divaldo would say.
Yeah, but so it will. Everybody laughs, but why does everybody laugh? Because you can perhaps identify yourself slightly with it. So the joke goes
Yeah.
something like see, he was better at telling jokes than I am, but he just tells a story of there was a couple and the gentleman, the husband, died. And culturally, in this particular culture, it was
Yeah.
common for you to show that despair that your partner's gone, to pull your
Mm.
hair out, to throw
Yeah.
yourself on the floor, say, I don't want to live anymore. My husband's dead. My life has no meaning. All this
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, a lot of which is quite cultural. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the culture being the culture of the family or the culture of the
Yeah.
town or the culture of the country, when I talk culture, I talk in general terms like that.
Yes.
So he says, so they went to, and there was the burial, the cemetery, and they're lowering the coffin into the hole, and the people, they're throwing the flowers in and things, and the woman is in despair, like people are holding her up, and just, I cannot live without him, and she suddenly slips and falls into the hole on top of the coffin. As she lands there, she immediately
Yeah.
goes, "Get me out of here! Get me out of here! Get me out of here! I was just joking, just joking." You know, so it was a joke saying like, "Do you really mean this?"
Yes,
You
it
mean
is a
this?
proverbial joke from above, right? Like, come on,
Yeah,
let's be real.
but it's
Yeah.
just showing that, like, in a different country, that
Yeah.
perhaps people have restrained their emotions. Maybe like here in the
Yes.
United Kingdom, people they
Yeah.
they hardly cry. They keep their tears for their home. They don't want to be crying
Yeah.
in public. They don't
Yeah.
want to be bothering other people with their emotions. Like, they don't want to upset others by being too upset. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of culture in how you manifest the emotions. So we're talking about, you have the feelings inside,
Yeah.
but how you express them has a lot to do with the culture.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying one culture is right and another one's wrong. It's not of
It's
that, not
different.
at all.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just for us to, when we are reflecting for ourselves, and sometimes if it's the first person that passes away of your close proximity, people
Yeah.
sometimes say, I don't know how I'm supposed to behave.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes a bit blank. And maybe we'll only cry after a week or something, when some little thing reminds them that that person will not be physically available to them
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
anymore. And then that sense of loss, it's gone, it's not coming back. But what's gone and not coming back is that physical contact. So one of the things that the spirits tell us in the spiritist teachings is a lot of our suffering around death, including our own death, has to do with our attachment to
Yeah.
material things, including our physical body. And the spirits, they come back and they tell us, the more attached you are to the physical, the more you suffer when you transition, because
Yes.
you're going into a world of energy where the physical is not coming with you.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to bring that in to make a comparison with what we were talking last time about attachment in
Mhm.
relationships between people. And it's that bond that brings that security, that emotional bond. And sometimes we then make attachments to material things, to material possessions, which are objects. They're not living beings, they're objects. And I
Mhm.
just want to refer here in this book, which is the first of Joanna's series, There's the Currentness of Jesus. And in chapter 14, it's called Jesus and Possessions. And the first sentence is, attachment to material possessions becomes a cage which imprisons the distracted owner. That's us. So
Yeah.
our attachment to the material things builds a cage in which we become imprisoned. I like
Yeah.
it. She's very good
Yeah.
with the metaphors.
She does.
And
She is. Yeah.
she was saying, like, it says material attachment to material things, it intoxicates us with pride and arrogance,
Mhm.
making us believe that we deserve privileges and deference. And we mistakenly, because we live in a material world,
Mhm.
we mistakenly associate our belongings, our material possessions,
Mhm.
to our value, if you like, in our society. And
Yeah.
then when we go, this stays. All our gold stays, our Rolls Royce stays, um, and our body stays. So all the material things, they stay. We just go as spirit. So when we hear like practicing detachment, is detachment from material objects. Joanna brings us the idea that material objects is not about them being bad. It's about
Mm.
us using them, utilizing them for their potential of usefulness, and then letting them go, letting them come, letting them go, as in a flow of life where everything is interchanging, but not over identifying with the objects, because the objects are not coming with us and they're not us.
Mhm.
And that is really important, because at the moment of separation, of loss, what is the loss? We are separating spirit from matter. Matter stays and spirit goes.
Yeah. And then one thing, though, which is maybe important for us to bring here, Anne, is um, right, because we're talking about attachment to people and grieving, but then there's the attachment to material, tangible things, which is much easier, one would say. Like you said, it doesn't matter. We are spirits, we will go, we'll move on, and everything else, including the body, will stay. Yet, we do know that the things that we hold dear, I'm just talking about maybe not this, but let's pretend this little mobile device that I have, that I love it and I use everything, it starts to impregnate with my energy, right? And I say this because for some families that are going through grief, um, and in that period, they start to look at things, let's say, in the household, in the home of that loved one, that start to have a symbolic or energetically speaking, that embedded energy of the person to the thing, and then we start getting really upset. I remember, and long ago, I think it was over 10 years ago, I managed, it was just bizarre because I'm just thinking, bizarre because I'm actually just thinking about it now. But I had a team of about 24 people at work. And in that year, that one single year, everybody went through a grieving, right? Bereavement. And I know that because at the beginning, I bought a card with 24 sympathy cards to give in case one day somebody would lose a family member. I could send to them along with flowers. By the end of the day, and my 24 cards were gone. Everybody in the 24 group of people have lost a grandma, a neighbor, a dog, a father, a mother. But the one that there are two instances that came to my mind today. One was somebody in the case of attachment, material attachments, that her mother and her father and mother were divorced. Her mother passed, and a week later or 2 weeks later, whatever, she went to with her sister and her father to take care of the material things,
Mm.
and she broke apart. It was really difficult for her, and she could not get over it. The fact that her father, who was no longer in the household for many years, threw away maybe 10 different orchids that all died because they were not watered. Simple. Orchid, living, beautiful, but it was dead, so let's put in the trash, moving on. But for this woman, young woman, the orchids represented, symbolically speaking, the most beautiful aspect of her mom. She loved those orchids, and she couldn't manage that, right? She
Mm.
could not manage that. And I think this is important for us to think in those instances when you are perhaps helping somebody, to
Uh-huh.
respect that emotional attachment that we have, that can be something very symbolic, right? And that we need, not that we are like, oh, we have to save those orchids, but maybe in honor of that, just offer, daughter, would you like me to buy you, I'm just thinking out loud
Yeah.
here, an orchid that would represent the love of your mother toward orchids? Think it's something that is simple, right? On the other hand, when you talked about the you moved to a different country, and you are attached to the idea, and many times nostalgic idea, you are attached to I used to live, say, in a different country, say Brazil, and I would go once a year, and I would see, and that's that idealized state
Mm.
of me visiting, not the good and bad and the ugly of those days together, but the idealized version of that interaction with, say, mom, dad, family members, etc. And another one of my team members in that also suffered a loss, he suffered a loss of his father, who was quite ill for a long time. And in this case, he would go, I believe it was Colombia, it was a long time ago. And he would go and he would come back, right, to work. And there's a struggle of him seeing his father. But the one thing that he came back, and I say this because when we talk about attachment, love, and separation, it, over 10 years ago, it still stuck with me what he said, which is all he wanted was to say and to listen, I love you, right? Listen from his father, I love you, son, and say to him, I love you. And again, that goes into the whole cultural aspects that maybe you don't say that from this generation versus others. But what was so important to him is that he came back saying, Marcia, I was able to say, I love you before he passed.
Oh.
And again, back to spiritism or spiritual thinking about physical death. Guess what? Even if you don't, you still can say, I love you. They, whoever that person, that special person that you're very close to, they can still hear, right? But back to you. Just a
No,
moment of memory here.
no, and that's something really important that you just said, because that was exactly what was in my mind.
Mm,
Um, we get caught up in the limitations of the material world, which is natural because
yeah,
the material world is very intense and we are totally immersed in it.
yeah,
But our connections of love, they transcend the plane. So our connection of love goes to wherever our loved one is. There's like this invisible thread of
yeah,
energy that
yeah.
connects. So we can talk to them mentally, or some people like to write a letter or something expressing what they would like to express. So there's a lot of these of things that were not said or that wish they had been different, and it's everything's okay because we are all learning. So if we are learning, our parents are also learning, and
Yeah.
they did the best they could with what they got from their parents. And you know, so it's not about a blame game and oh I wish, or this is what happened, this was the experience, what do we
Yeah.
take from it, and how do we multiply the love. So
Mm.
I just wanted to take back to the fear of separation,
Yes, please. Yeah.
where when in this chapter that Joanna's talking about possessions, she does bring in why do people have fear of losing their possessions? This kind of a universe, And it's this fear of scarcity, of there
Yeah.
not being enough. So although she's talking about the material, there were times of scarcity during our evolution. There were times of famine. There were times where we didn't have cooking utensils because they'd all been broken in the war or something. There was scarcity. And we
Yeah.
all carry the scars of scarcity on us from a material point of view. But we project it also onto the emotional, because a lot of our relationships are still in which the other is still an object. Not that we
Yeah.
mean to objectify them, it's not that, but our level of love is still very primary. It's very close to instincts.
Yeah.
And the going of the partner, the member of the clan, the child, the loved one, that separation
Yeah.
threatens scarcity in the group. If it's, let's say, when my father passed away, we were all young, we were just teenagers, adolescents, and there was scarcity because he was the breadwinner, the provider. So his death brought a situation, a temporary situation of scarcity compared to what we previously had experienced. So embedded in us as my siblings, that you should be afraid of death because it brings you
Yeah.
difficulties.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that we all have that at some level, for sure. What is the representation, the person that is going? For example, a mother that loses a child, and you say it's not natural for the child to die before the parents.
Yeah.
It's unnatural. This should not happen. But this
Mhm.
happens and happens all the time. But it's really, really painful because all the dreams you had for your
Yeah.
child, all the expectations, all that future that you had inbuilt into your child is now not happening in
Yeah.
that way. So it is a loss
Yeah.
of your expectations, of your hope that you had for a new generation and things like that. So these are real feelings that we're having, and we need to acknowledge them. What I would like to bring is to, like, we can acknowledge them, we can go with them, but we don't need to disappear into the despair of them, knowing that they are natural events, as Rona says, that are inevitable in a transient world where
Yeah.
everything in the world is passing. Nothing is forever on this planet. And even, our physical bodies. So our relationships, if they're true relationships with our loved ones, they carry on. So our separation is just temporary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we miss them, and we wish they would sit at the table and share a meal with us, or go on a walk with us, or give us a hug. That's not going to be available, but
Yeah.
the love on a spiritual level is always available,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
carry on helping each other. And
Yeah.
so talking, this fear of separation is quite a primeval fear,
Yeah.
because in the past, when we were more primitive, separation could mean danger. We are less, because one of the members has gone. We are more vulnerable. We are less strong to defend ourselves, to seek for food, to seek for comfort. So there's true consequences for the departure of a member of the tribe, if you like to call it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So the
remember when we started last week, um, and when we talked about attachment in the research with children, right?
yeah,
Attachment, which is that bond, attachment meaning the bond between
yeah,
an infant and the caregiver, leads to, which is brought forth from survival, leads to a sense of safety, that leads to a sense of trust. And I think what you're saying is the reverse of that, right? Where when we lose that, the and I'm thinking of binomial, right, or an equation,
mm,
one side of the equation leads to the other. When we go back, I'm here alone, And mind you, I may be, I don't know, a 45-year-old at the peak of my career. I am the CEO of a company that employs 10,000 family members. This is all fiction, by the way. Yeah, right.
It's your
That
dream.
I feed, quote unquote, I feed 10,000 families, etc., etc. Scarcity is no longer part of my vocabulary, but the feeling that binomial, right? The feeling that I connect with mother, for example, or father, that was my caregiver at the time, that created the foundation of my sense of trust and safety. When it goes, it may stabilize my own sense of self, at least for a period. And
Mhm.
this is what I'm hearing, perhaps, that
Yes.
I don't know that that's what you meant, but maybe it's for us to think about it, right? Why
Yeah.
do we suffer so much? Why is it so hard when, for example, as a someone who has a spiritual, very deep spiritual foundation in my system, my belief system, so I do know that my loved one will move on, and but it's still in contact. Why does it still hurt so much, right? And I don't know.
And- no, and I think that's an excellent point because that is exactly it's the loop. It's gone one
Mm,
way and now it's coming back the other way. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
and just one the last thought that I come to this fear of
mm,
separation.
yeah,
We're talking about other people going and departing, but
yeah,
also what about when we are ready to go, when we are coming
yeah,
close to going? I remember after we buried my mom, when she passed away, going back in the car, my sister says to me, she said, "Do you realize something?" I said, "What?" She said, "We are next." All the elders have already passed away. So next would be
yeah,
our generation to go. But the way she said it, we are next. I was like, oh my God.
yes,
Had not
yes,
crossed my mind. Obviously, it crossed her mind.
yeah,
And
yeah,
are we afraid to transition and let go of
yeah,
those who stay behind,
yeah,
our loved ones
yeah.
who we are leaving when it's the inverted roles? Are we able to be free to go when our time comes knocking for us?
I
Are
love
we?
that concept, right? How to um, go easily, right? Our
Yeah.
not just our physical affairs, because I think in the case of my father, who recently, rather recently, passed away, he had this deep sense of I'm going to do as much as I can for you children so that you don't have to fear the scarcity, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to feel that I'm gone because it's all provided. And for me, what about the emotional? How, and I don't know that we can, Anne, but how can we help? And I'm thinking here, just a thought process, that perhaps we, in this how about us, uh, we should, and this comes in the literature by Allan Kardec, right? We should live in a non-material world because we are spirits living a material existence. We are
Mm,
not bodies living a spiritual experience, right? And so how can we be better equipped to put our air quotes here, affairs in order? And that means how can we start to change our vocabulary? No longer labor pain, but strong experience, right? Life affirming experience. How
mhm,
can we change our sense of scarcity to abundance? How can we change a, a psychologically safe, a psychologically mature environment to be able to talk about death without feeling so afraid or saying that we're discussing we're in a macabre, even pathological tone. No, this is as natural as we can get, right?
yeah,
It is. So, can we make it less taboo? And can we normalize the feeling that we too will go back, we return to who we are truly, our real source. And in doing so, what do I need to take into account for my current existence? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, and I think that this is the challenge we have,
Mm-hmm.
to balance our lives, considering our spiritual nature, our eternal nature,
Mm-hmm.
living in a transient body in a
Mm-hmm.
transient world, but
Mm-hmm.
where the lessons will embed in us eternally,
Mm-hmm.
taking it. And so it's not like, say, living on the earth, like, say, being stewards of the goods that come our way, being amazed by the beauty of nature,
Oh, I
forming
love it.
relationships
Mm-hmm.
with one another, practicing love and connecting. It's our challenge, because we cannot ignore our physical body and all the mechanisms that are embedded in our physical body by the creator to
Yeah.
provoke us to learn and develop. And at the same time, so not being totally just the body, but not being totally just the spirit, but being this flow between us. And it's this constant action and interaction. Uh, I always say, like, we want to learn more about love. And this is from a philosophical point of view, the search for beauty, for justice, for truth, love. On a biological level, it's your hormones, it's your oxytocin, which
Yeah.
breaks down barriers and makes you connect to others. And
Mm-hmm.
socially, how do we construct love, through all kinds of different things and literature, and Romeo and Juliet, and ideals of how we need to experiment and to learn and develop, and not have the expectation that we're going to have the full answer anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I think it's just allowing ourselves to live fully whatever's coming our way. And it's I just think it's such a blessing that we are here on earth, this
Yeah.
wonderful blue school, planet blue, floating through and that we have this opportunity of experimenting and doing different things. And if we are just standing still, life will push us and give us opportunities.
Yeah.
So yes, it's sad when we have to say see you later to someone
Yeah.
we have a deep affection for, we've formed an
Absolutely.
attachment.
Yeah.
um, and we will see them later, but there are so many other people that we still have to see now,
Yeah.
and to build new relationship, discover new things, learn new things. But I think that for me, I find it fascinating how things are embedded in the biology. I would say, like, God is already providing for our development within the biology of the bodies and nature on earth.
Yeah.
But if we awaken our consciousness, then it's like we're swimming with the current rather than just floating along. So we
Uh,
move, we
yeah.
move, we move faster, or we
Well,
move in harmony.
yes, what comes to my mind when you say that is intent, right?
Hmm.
Because we can float through life or we can direct, and the direction with the current, as you mentioned, it can be acceleration, but it can also with intent. I am here. I am in the present. I am aware of all there is, and I I am not just going to let life happen, but I will live life at its fullest, right?
Hmm.
And we are at time. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for um, you bringing such richness and depth to this topic of attachment, love, and separation. And just remembering that, as we talked a little bit last time, that attachment is this connecting point between souls, between um, you know, uh, uh, people that feel an affinity, that we feel love for each other, and those that we may feel love for an idea. We don't even have to know that person, but
Mm,
let's think about that bind, that glue, as you mentioned last time, right? That attachment that connects us all. And from a loving perspective, let us be in the moment and express that sentiment, that feeling. But
mm,
I was thinking that separation specifically, it it's to us um, maybe interpreted as painful, but let us think of it as a challenge, right? Because it challenges us to really move toward growth, maturity, consciousness, as you mentioned. So when we start to begin to understand all those processes through, say, the lenses of, I don't know, psychology, spirituality, philosophy, science, we can start to gain insights and tools to be able to navigate with, at a minimum, more clarity, but also with resilience and compassion, self love, self forgiveness, self compassion, right? So that we can truly be present in this amazing experience that is the corporeal life, right? And
mm.
that makes us all that we are, or adds to all that we are, since we, as immortal spirits, doesn't end with that physical death. And do you have any final words before we go?
No, I think I'll leave it there. I think I said enough. I just wanted to reiterate that we are bringing our reflections.
Yeah,
They are not the definitive answer. They're just how we were able to, the conclusion we were able to bring today, and that you can do your own reflections and bring your
yes,
own conclusions.
yeah,
And it's all okay. You know, we're working it out as we go along.
yeah, yeah. We're a bag of contradictions, right? And it's okay. I would say this is just an invitation to look into this topic with reverence, with self love, with self forgiveness, and with the understanding that with this divine mercy, we're all in this together. We should have an enormous bag of empathy to all of us in
Mm.
how we deal with separation and grieving.
Yeah. Can I just, my last thought that just
Sure,
came into my mind
please.
is how do
Yeah,
we bridge the separation with loved ones who are gone to the other side? And
yeah,
the best telephone is prayer.
yes, yes, yes. Do that. Connect, right? It's just one call, phone call away, metaphorically speaking, and your message and your prayer of love, and even that, oh, dad, mom, whomever, I miss you. They will feel that from a good place, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, it is time to say goodbye. And I would say so long. We'll see you next time. And thank you, Anne. Thank you, all of you who are here with us today. And thanks to our sponsors, Nação do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AMI Brazil, the organization that is the Brazilian arm, the Brazilian chapter of the Medical Spiritist Association. Thank you, everyone, and so long.